Good morning, boys and girls. It's 10:30 on a Monday morning. Monday used to be probably the worst day of the week for you because you'd had a couple days off from school, you'd been able to relax, and maybe slept in on Saturday morning, and Sunday morning maybe you got up. Hopefully you went to church, but then Sunday afternoon you just kind of got to lay around and be lazy and rest up, and then Monday morning, it was just hard to wake up and get ready to get on the bus or gather your things up and go to school. And maybe your mom and dad felt the same way. Monday morning, I got to get ready to go off to work, but now you're at home. Maybe you slept in until 10:15. You just got up, and maybe you're still in your pajamas. Well, it's probably be a good thing, even if you're in your pajamas, and it's 10:30, if you brushed your teeth. Make sure you brushed your teeth, okay? I've got a hat for you. It's, this is Nixon Landscape Supply. So, I'm going to wear that hat this morning. I know some people that their last name is Nixon, so maybe they're related to these people. I'm advertising Nixon Landscaping Supply. It's been cold the last couple days. And maybe you live somewhere where it's not only been cold, but it snowed. At our house, I went out late Friday night, and with the dog, and when I got out there, I saw 20 snowflakes blowing in the wind. Not a whole lot. The ground never did get white or anything like, but I saw pictures where here it was like May 9th, and the ground was covered. It was white with snow. Some places got a couple inches of snow. That's not typical. That's not the norm for May 9th and 10th. But that got me thinking about snowflakes, especially because I saw my sister-in-law, Kathy, she posted an article about snowflakes, and I read that article, and I thought, wow, this is pretty interesting stuff, and I thought, I'm going to share some of this morning. Do you know that, here, I wrote a couple things down. Listen to this. Scientists say, you've probably heard there are no two snowflakes alike. And we'll discuss what happens, why there aren't two snowflakes that are alike. So scientists say that for two snowflakes to be alike, the chances of that are 1 in a million trillion. Now, that sounds like a big number. 1 in a million trillion. A trillion's really big, but you've got a million of those, a million trillions. How big is that number if you write it down? Well, that's a 1 with 18 zeros behind it. So even if you try to find two that are alike, good luck with that, because you're not going to find them. Meteorologists, those are people that study the weather and things like that. They tell us they believe that there are 1 trillion different types of snowflakes. Most snowflakes they have 6 sides. 6 sides. And there's a big similarity between snowflakes and people. See, in the Bible, the number 6 is man's number. Maybe one day we'll study some numbers and kind of figure some of that out. His Word has some things in it that maybe need to be discovered. But the number 6 is man's number. God created Adam and Eve on the 6th day of creation. That's where it all started. The number 6 is man's number. And it's interesting that real snowflakes have 6 sides. 6 sides to them. There's a similarity. And snowflakes, they're made up of water and ice and dust. And really, our bodies, we're made out of water and dust. And we know that ice is just frozen water. And so scientists say there's 3 ingredients: ice, water, and dust. But in reality, that's just 2. Water and dust. And that's what we're made out of. Water and dust. God it says he took the dust of the earth and he formed man and then breathed into him, and man became a living soul. So, there's 6 sides. That's man's number. Snowflakes are made out of dust and water and ice. And there's no two alike. when I told you that meteorologists, they believe that there are 1 trillion different snowflakes. Oh man, if you were going to write that number, that'd be the number 1 with 36 zeros behind it. Well, you better turn your paper long ways if you're going to try to write that 1 trillion. That's a trillions. Good luck with that. That's how many different snowflakes meteorologists, those that study the weather, that's how many they say there. You know, why am I telling you all that? Because we're all different. Even if you've got a twin, do you know you're different? Just because you're a twin doesn't mean that you love and like all the same things that your twin likes. There are different things about you that make you unique. You are not anybody else on the face of the earth that's ever lived that's been identical to you. You know, one of the big reasons, I'll give you a couple of reasons that scientists say that all snowflakes are different. Well, they all fall to the ground in a different way, in a different place. Yeah. And so you and I, we are born in our lives, even if you've got a twin, your life is different from theirs. You don't always go to the same identical place, the same time, and in the same space. And so everybody's life is a little different. They say that your temperature, the temperature that where that snowflake is created, it's a little different. It can vary just a little bit, and so that causes that snowflake to be different from this snowflake, even though they can be close by. The temperature's just slightly different. The wind is turning that snowflake just as it's forming just a little differently, and so all that, the dust particle, a little microscopic piece of particle of dust, and each one of those is different. The cold is a different temperature right where you're being formed as a snowflake. The wind blows you a different way. There are different spots, different places on the earth, and so the possibilities are endless. So that's why meteorologists say there's a trillion different snowflakes. Well, I thought we'd take a minute, and I'm going to show you, and you can watch this again if you need help. You can watch this video again, but I want to make a snowflake. You know, maybe you've made some of these type of snowflakes. Let me show you a couple. Here's one. Here's another one. Here's a big one. How about that? Yeah, that's a pretty big snowflake there. And so I thought we would kind of have a lesson on how to maybe make a snowflake. Now, before you start this, though, you have to promise me something. And so you have to promise that you'll clean your mess up when you get done. You'll clean every piece of paper up. And so let's raise our right hand. That's all right. You're right. Not your left. You're right. Raise your right hand. And now you say, I solemnly swear to pick up my pieces when I get done. I promise. Okay. Now, what you want to do is first you find yourself a piece of paper. You could use newspaper, a page out of a magazine, or just a blank piece of paper. But the first thing you do is you fold it one corner all the way over so that it's lined up there. And what you're doing there is you're trying to make your piece of paper square. And so to make it square, you fold it over like that, and then you take your scissors and you cut right along this line right here, and then you'll have a square piece of paper. So I've done that step, and so this is a square piece of paper now. And so once you've done that, then you fold that over corner to corner diagonally one time, and so your paper looks like this. And then you take your paper and you fold it again in another triangle, fold it in half diagonally, and so now your paper is half as big. It's still a triangle, but now it's only this big. And then you fold it over again diagonally, fold it corner to corner. So now it looks like this. And now you have to kind of picture you're going to fold this into threes. And so if you do that into thirds, you start from that bottom corner, you fold this piece over like this. Then you're going to fold this piece over like this. And now you've got it looks like this. I'll show it to you. Either way, it looks like this. And so it's not even up there at the top. And so now you take your scissors. And I'm going to cut that off at the top there. I'm just going to cut that off. Woo. See there? Do you see those pieces go flying? That's why I made you. Solemnly swear you pick your pieces, you pick your trash up. So now you're left with just a little piece that looks like this. And so now it's up to you, but you start cutting. You can make whatever shapes you want, and you pull all these little pieces out. And so I'm making mine. You know, I'm cutting triangles in mine. And so the Bible says we are fearfully and wonderfully made. God makes us, we're a one of a kind, and we're fearfully and wonderfully made. God doesn't make trash. You might look in the mirror and you say, oh God, why did you make me this way? God doesn't make any mistakes. He's made you the way He's made you for a reason. He wants to use you for a special job that only you can do it your way. And so I'm cutting and I'm making, I'm doing all kinds of little fancy designs, cutting half circles and little sharp angles up into, whoa, my pieces are flying everywhere. And so I'm discovering, I'm making a snowflake. You know, it reminds me of a song. Maybe you've heard this song. He's still working on me to make me what I ought to be. It took him just a week to make the moon and the stars, the sun and the earth and Jupiter and Mars. How loving and patient he must be. He's still working on me. See, that song tells us God's not done. He's still, I'm 60 years old and God's still working on me. And so when you get done cutting and trimming with your scissors, oh my, I've got quite a mess on the floor. But I promised I'd pick it all up. But now, here it is. I've left with this funny little shape, and now comes the time. See, when you're born, it's like you come out and no one really knows what you're going to be, but you start to grow and you learn to walk and talk. And I hope you wished your mama a happy Mother's Day yesterday, because whether you realize it or not, your mama's the one that taught you how to use a spoon. If you didn't have a mama to teach you how to use a spoon, you'd be pretty foolish looking when you go out to a restaurant in the days ahead and go to eat, and you don't know how to use a spoon or a fork. Well, you'd have food all over your face. I hope you hug your mom. If you forgot to wish her happy Mother's Day, you better hug her good today and say, thanks, Mama, for teaching me how to use a spoon. That'd be a good thing. So here we go. We're going to start and unfold this, and we're going to discover just what it is, what it looks like that God has created. It's like I can't hardly wait to see what unfolds. I want to see what this thing looks like. Oh my, it's really looking different. It's not what I was expecting. Wow, just look at this snowflake. Wow, what a beautiful snowflake. And so you can sit around and practice. You might want to go outside someplace where all these little scrap pieces it won't matter. They'll just go into the ground. It'll be okay. But you promised you clean your mess up. And so make some snowflakes and hang them around. You could decorate your bedroom with those. And every time you look at them, you could be reminded, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. God created you. You're a one of a kind. One in a trillion. Have a good day. He's still working on me to make me what I ought to be. It took him just a week to make the moon and the stars, the sun and the earth and Jupiter and Mars. How loving, precious he must be. He's still working on, he's still working on, he's still